Wow, what a series between the St. Louis Blues and the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to be taking a look at the matchup, the amount of drama that went on in this series, and maybe a little bit of a nod to the refs. We'll be taking a look at all that in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Let's take a look at this rematch between the Vancouver Canucks and the St. Louis Blues. So to cap off the first round of the 2020 Stanley Cup Playoffs, we had an unbelievable series between the Vancouver Canucks, who are a young, upcoming hockey team that we've seen is starting to develop some of their young guys, and then the St. Louis Blues, who just came off winning the Stanley Cup, the defending Cup champs, lots of veteran leadership, and guys like Alex Pietrangelo, Ryan O'Reilly. Fortunately, they lost Vladimir Tarasenko along the way, but this was a really solid match between two teams that are going seemingly in different directions. So, starting things off in game number one, the Vancouver Canucks took the momentum and took it early. A 5-2 victory for the Vancouver Canucks in game one. It was a pretty close game through the first two periods, and then 3 goals in the third was enough for the Vancouver Canucks to win that one by a score of 5-2. You see in this game, you see Bo Horvat, Elias Pettersson, Bo Horvat again, JT Miller, that top line really getting things going for the Vancouver Canucks, and then the depth of the St. Louis Blues. Guys like David Perron, Jaden Schwartz getting goals for the St. Louis Blues, but it just was not enough. The Vancouver Canucks were just way too good in this game. Power play, the Vancouver Canucks were better. They were 3 for 6 on the power play, and the St. Louis Blues were 1 for 3. That seemed to be the difference in this game. The St. Louis Blues were taking too many penalties, and unfortunately it costed them as the series went along. So the Vancouver Canucks established momentum in the series, and that seemed to follow all the way through. But we'll be taking a look at that in this video. So now we go on to game two, a solid matchup. This one goes to overtime as the St. Louis Blues were unable to come back. It was a 4-3 victory for the Vancouver Canucks. Really solid effort. Once again, we see Bo Horvat, Pettersson, Pearson getting goals for the Vancouver Canucks. Ryan O'Reilly would get one for the St. Louis Blues. And the Blues kind of came back. Sammy Blais, Jaden Schwartz get on the board in the third period. Unfortunately, it was not enough as Bo Horvat, yet again the captain there in Vancouver, gets his 6th of the postseason and a huge goal for the Vancouver Canucks. This may be a different series looking back if the St. Louis Blues come back and win this game. Bo Horvat gets things done just under 6 minutes into overtime, and the Vancouver Canucks win game two. Now moving on to game three, the St. Louis Blues start to turn the tide in this series as it once again will go to overtime. So these teams are pretty banged up after this series. You have a 3-2 victory for the St. Louis Blues. The shots, 49 shots for the St. Louis Blues to the 41 for the Vancouver Canucks. A very high, potent offensive series between both sides, and that became a theme throughout the series. JT Miller would get things going for the Vancouver Canucks, but Justin Falk and David Perron, the pair of goals by the St. Louis Blues was enough throughout most of the game until Elias Pettersson late in the second period gets a goal, ties the game at 2. We didn't see any goals in the third period. It seemed like this game was destined for overtime, and we saw exactly that. Brayden Schenn gets the game winner, his first of the postseason, a huge goal for the St. Louis Blues, because if they go down 3-0 in this series, it's going to be a heck of a road ahead, a difficult road ahead for the St. Louis Blues in this series. They knew they had to win this game. They find a way to get that done. Really solid performance by both goaltenders, Jacob Markstrom and Jordan Binnington, who ended up getting pulled later in the series, but that seemed to be something that was an issue for the St. Louis Blues. But looking at the power play, not much. It was a 1 for 2 for the Vancouver Canucks compared to the 0 for 2 for the St. Louis Blues. Didn't end up being a factor for the Blues, but as the series goes along, those power play goals do matter, and they weren't able to get that in game number 3. Now we move on to game number 4, and the Blues come back attacking. So the Vancouver Canucks have all the momentum. They're up 2-0 in the series. That overtime goal, now it's 2-1, and now it's a 2-2 series. The St. Louis Blues have tied things up. It's a 3-1 victory. Ryan O'Reilly gets a pair of goals, as well as the captain, Alex Pietrangelo, a 3-1 victory. JT Miller would get one on the board for the Vancouver Canucks, but Pettersson and Horvat were both kept off the board, which is huge for the St. Louis Blues, being able to hold those guys off. And they find a way to win Game 4. A huge victory for the St. Louis Blues, really turning the tide in this series. Unfortunately, that would be as close as it would get. As now we head to Game 5, as the Vancouver Canucks assert their dominance really in the second period. Tied at 1 after the first period. A pair of goals by either side, Tyler Mott and Braden Shen. And then things kind of took over in the second period. Ryan O'Reilly would get one. Zach Sanford would get one. And then the Vancouver Canucks completely took over, and that would be it. That would be the end of the story. JT Miller, Jake Virtanen, and Tyler Mott gets his second of the postseason. And that was a huge goal for the Vancouver Canucks. Late, they find a way to get things done with 18-17 into the period. So less than 2 minutes to go in regulation. Vancouver Canucks, a team that's very young and inexperienced, finding ways to score goals. They were able to do that in this game, and they were able to win Game 5. This was a pivotal point in the series, and this would be as close as it got for the St. Louis Blues. As we go into Game 6, St. Louis Blues backs against the wall, and the Vancouver Canucks once again throttled them in the second period. It was a 1-0 score after 2, and then 3 goals in the second period once again for the Vancouver Canucks. It's 4-0 going into the third. Goals by Roussel, Stetcher, and Besser. It was just too much for the Blues to come back from. Jaden Schwartz would get a pair of goals, but so would Tyler Mott, and that would be the difference as he gets his third and fourth of the postseason. A 6-2 victory for the Vancouver Canucks. They move on to take on the Vegas Golden Knights in the conference final, in the Western Conference semifinals. 3 stars of the game, you got Mott, who had a really nice game, Markstrom, and Jaden Schwartz, who did pick up a pair of goals there in the third, but it was just too little too late for the St. Louis Blues. Power play, 1 for 2 for the Vancouver Canucks and 0 for 2 for the St. Louis Blues. Power play was really an issue here for the Blues. I don't know what was going on with the Blues there. There were a couple of issues with the officials as the series went along. You could see that Vancouver Canucks fans definitely felt it was favored to the St. Louis Blues, and that showed at certain points in the series, but that happens. You just got to work through that. The Vancouver Canucks were the better team in this series. There were points where the Blues, it seemed like in Game 3 and 4, they got their mojo back and just weren't able to keep that going, because that's what happens when you go down 0-2. It takes 2 games just to even tie it up, and that takes a lot of effort, and it doesn't even matter because it's all for naught, because you lose the next 2 and you're done. So fortunately, that's what happened here with the St. Louis Blues. They may be a little bit tired from what happened last year. They did get the break, which I think ended up hurting them because they looked really solid this season. I think the whole pandemic time off ended up kind of killing it for the St. Louis Blues a little bit. They didn't look that great in the round robin. I think that was a little bit of an issue too. So, you know what? At the end of the day, the St. Louis Blues are still a very solid hockey team. They're going to come back next season. They seem to be getting a little bit older, but we know what this team is. They have the leadership. They're going to be in contention every year. But the Vancouver Canucks right now, they look very solid. They're able to score goals, and the goaltending was a little bit of an issue for the St. Louis Blues at certain points. So let me know in the comment section down below. St. Louis Blue fans, what do you want to see the Blues do this offseason? You could be losing Alex Pietrangelo. Hopefully they find a way to keep him. You do have Jaden Schwartz coming down the line that has to be re-signed. Do you move him out? Do you lose Pietrangelo? You got to figure that out. Let me know in the comment section down below. And Vancouver Canuck fans, now you've won 2. This is really the first round of playoffs you've won, but you've won 2 consecutive series now. So they have to be feeling pretty good about themselves now going into the next round against the Vegas Golden Knights. A very difficult team, but it's going to be an interesting matchup. 2 aggressive teams. This could be an interesting series between these 2 teams. Could get very physical. I'm very excited to do the preview on that in the next couple of days. So comment down below, what do you think of this series, Vancouver Canucks fans? And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, we want to see the latest news around the NHL. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.